Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to continue discussing this little move here on Bitcoin that we've been watching for the last couple of days, because as you guys know, Bitcoin broke quite bullish out of this ascending triangle pattern that it had been in for the majority of the month of April, and now Bitcoin has actually gone and fallen over. Bitcoin pulled back around 4.5% or so, not a massive move, one that some people are definitely concerned about, but in today's video, I want to discuss whether or not this little move here to the downside is the beginning of some kind of major downtrend, or if it's just a breather before Bitcoin starts moving towards new highs here in the month of April, moving on into May. So guys, I believe this is a very important video for us to all understand, because in this video, we're going to be discussing where Bitcoin is going to be heading over the next couple of days, because there's a couple of scenarios that can play out. So I'm going to be showing you the technicals that back up both scenarios, and we'll be coming to a conclusion later on in the video as to what Bitcoin should be doing here coming up to the end of the month of April. So anyway, guys, without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. Bitcoin is currently trading around $5,452 and change. And as you guys know, it did fall over here around 1 a.m. on the 24th of April. Today is the 25th, and Bitcoin has traded sideways here. Now, I talked about in yesterday's video about how this could potentially be the beginning of some kind of downtrend, but I do want to point out that Bitcoin has not gone back below this uptrend of support right here. This one that Bitcoin has been respecting for several days now, Bitcoin has not gone below this yet. And while I think that it may be the case that Bitcoin has in fact started a downtrend and has fallen over, the first point I want to make in today's video is that that has not been confirmed. I think that that's probably going to happen, and we'll be discussing why here on later on into the video, but I think that we need to wait before we go ahead and say for certain that a new downtrend has started. I want to see this uptrend of support be broken before we say that. For now, until we come down here and potentially break this, if we break it, until we break it, Bitcoin is just in a correction. Bitcoin is not in a new downtrend. That's the first point I want to make. We're not there yet. Now, with that said, I do want to bring up many technicals that I've discussed before, many that I haven't, and talk about why I think that might be the most likely scenario. As you guys can see, as we've been talking about here for the last couple of days, Bitcoin's RSI is looking rather bearish. Bitcoin has an uptrend on its tops up here and a downtrend on its RSI right there, as you can see. That is called bearish RSI divergence. We actually just uploaded a video to the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, link in the description, and so is a coupon code, where we discuss RSI divergence and why it is so incredibly powerful and so very important. RSI divergence is a remarkably powerful and important kind of technical signal. So you want to keep an eye on that when you see it. It is normally going to give you a valid signal. And not only on the daily chart are we seeing RSI divergence, so too are we seeing it on the 4-hourly chart, and likewise we are seeing it on the hourly chart as well. You can come over here and draw this downtrend here, and the same uptrend applies on all 3 time frames on the chart itself. This bearish divergence will bring about bearish price action on Bitcoin. That's not so much a question of if, although it is. I mean, there's always the question of if in technical analysis, but in this case, that's more than likely going to be a question of when. And that's normally going to be the way it works. Normally when Bitcoin has RSI divergence, especially such powerful RSI divergence that shows up on 3 different intervals like the hourly, the 4-hourly, and the daily chart, normally you're going to see some kind of major move from that. And that's one of the big reasons why I think Bitcoin is actually going to come and break this uptrend of support, is because we have that massive bearishness of the bearish RSI divergence on 3 different intervals. Normally that's going to bring about some kind of correction, and I think that kind of correction will come in the next couple of days. Sometimes it's delayed, sometimes it'll lag a little bit. That's okay, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to see a correction from it, and I think it'll bring us down to this uptrend of support where we will probably break it. Another reason why I think we're going to break this has to do with the stochastic RSI that we've been discussing for almost 2 months now, guys. Stochastic RSI has been up here in overbought territory for a very long time. As you guys can see, it's been up here in overbought territory since the beginning of March. I've been discussing this since about halfway through March, and the fact is, eventually, stochastic RSI is going to crash. That is not a matter of if either, it is a matter of when. Eventually, stochastic RSI is going to crash. That being said, I do want to point out that just because stochastic RSI is up here above 80 in overbought territory does not necessarily mean that tomorrow we're going to see a crash. If that were the case, Bitcoin would have crashed long ago. The kind of signals that you want to read from stochastic RSI and RSI also in general are not necessarily overbought and oversold signals, but actually momentum signals, which is why sometimes you'll hear me call RSI a momentum oscillator, because you want to look at the direction it's moving and how quickly it's moving at that direction, and that's where you really get the best signals. The same thing is true for stochastic RSI. When Stoch RSI does inevitably start curving to the downside and starts moving down here towards 0, when that happens, take that as a very bearish sign. For right now, we're seeing a little bit of bearishness coming from the stochastic RSI, but the exuberance from the bulls and the people that are looking forward to a bull market is overshadowing that bearishness from the stochastic RSI. But when it starts curving to the downside, history shows us that we're most likely going to see some kind of correction. Guys, I've been talking about a correction here on Bitcoin for a very long time. I've been discussing how eventually, it may take a while, it may take a couple weeks, it may take a couple months, but eventually Bitcoin is going to see a major correction, and it's going to see Bitcoin lose 10, 20, maybe 30%. I've been talking about that for quite some time, and I think we're getting closer and closer to that all the time. Of course, Bitcoin has had a lot of bullish exuberance. Maybe Bitcoin has the strength to go up to $6,000. I'm not convinced of that just yet, but no matter what happens, if Bitcoin goes up to 6K or if Bitcoin starts it right now, Bitcoin is eventually going to have a downtrend. I think that's just about inevitable. Bitcoin is going to need that. Now, maybe the exuberance of the bulls means that that downtrend won't be long-lived. Maybe the exuberance of the bulls means that Bitcoin will only fall down to maybe $4,500. Other support levels, $4,000 at the lowest, maybe $5,000. Whatever happens, Bitcoin, I think, based on the technicals, is going to have some kind of downtrend. Another thing I want to point out is a little bit of what we discussed in yesterday's video. If you guys will remember, I discussed the golden cross that we're seeing right here on Bitcoin. Just a couple of days ago, we did see a golden cross on Bitcoin. We've been discussing this for a long time, since back over here at the beginning of April. We saw that this was coming. It was pretty much inevitable at that point, and we have now seen this golden cross. But I do want to remind you guys that during the last bull market, we saw 2 golden crosses before the bull market started. This bull market, we've only seen 1. If we look back in time here, what we will see is that Bitcoin had 1 golden cross over here in the halfway point through July of 2015, and then we had a second one, and that was where the bull market started. And if you'll note, the last time we saw a golden cross that was not at the beginning of a bull market, on the very same day that that golden cross happened, the top of that market was achieved, and Bitcoin started moving to the downside from there, which is why I warned you guys about using golden and death crosses as short-term indicators. Oftentimes, they're going to give you invalid signals on the short term because that's not what they are. They're not short-term indicators. This was a counter trade signal. This was a counter trade signal. This was not a counter trade signal. See what I mean? A lot of times, just because you see a golden or a death cross does not mean that you can start doing short-term technical analysis based on that. It's a long-term indicator. Same thing for the last death cross that we saw. We saw a death cross here at the end of March 2018, and from there, instead of crashing through the floor at $6,000, we traded sideways and started a rally a week later. So it's not necessarily the case that just because we've seen a golden cross that Bitcoin is going to go all the way up to $6,000. In fact, if you look back to that time period in the market before where Bitcoin had the golden cross and then immediately had a crash, what does this look like, guys? Bitcoin was bullish the day that we had the golden cross. The next day we have a red candlestick. I'm just saying this is starting to look a little bit like what happened on the first of the 2 golden crosses back in 2015 that I just showed you. And I've been talking about for a long time that I think what's going to happen is that Bitcoin's going to have 1 golden cross. That moving average is going to curve over. We're going to have another death cross. And then sometime in the summer, these 2 are going to curve back up together, go bullish, and then a bull market will start. We're going to see a bull market start this year. I'm almost certain of that. The technicals, the fundamentals, the sentiment, everything is pointing to that. But I don't think we're there yet. I think we're going to need a little bit of a correction. And guys, that's a good thing, by the way. I want to talk about why that's a good thing. Having a correction is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. If we pretty much all agree that a Bitcoin bull market is starting. If you don't think a Bitcoin bull market is coming in 2019, tell me in the comment section down below, because literally everyone seems to think that. If you don't subscribe to that standpoint, I want to hear it. I want to hear why. I want to have the evidence that you have to point to that. I want to know, because I can use that in my technical analysis to better my own trading and investing and analysis. But I do think that we all basically agree that a bull market is coming this year. So a correction is a good thing. A correction is a very good thing, because it would take one crazy, apocalyptic, God brought down, that's a phrase, kind of crash to stop the bull market from coming. It would be apoplectic, or we would be apoplectic to see Bitcoin go far enough that a bull market would not start. I think just about no matter what happens, a bull market is going to start. So I welcome the crash. Let Bitcoin fall through the floor. Let Bitcoin crash all the way to $4,000, because you know who's going to be down there buying as much Bitcoin as he can get his grubby little hands on? That's right, me, and the rest of you probably as well, because we all know, or we all believe anyway, that a Bitcoin bull market is coming. At least I think the majority of us do. So if Bitcoin crashes, that's not a bad thing. Another reason why Bitcoin crash is not a bad thing is because if Bitcoin does fall through the floor and crash, Well, guess what? That lets the bears exhaust themselves while the bulls take a breather. And then when the bulls get the power back, guys, the bulls are going to blast straight through the moon and probably go straight to $6,000. We'll test it for a couple weeks, and then we'll break it, and a bull market will start. And we'll all sing Kumbaya on our private islands with our mansions and our jets and our Lamborghinis and Paganis and everything. And we'll all have a great, wonderful time popping champagne corks and driving our 15 cars because we're all rock stars. Anyway, that was a really long tangent. I do want to point out, though, guys, that just because we're probably going to see a downtrend, that's not a bad thing. I think we're going to see it. Maybe we won't. I don't want to discount the possibility that Bitcoin does go up to $6,000, breaks it, and starts a bull run from there. I don't want to completely discount that because in times like these, it's important to understand that sometimes the exuberance of the crowd can disregard technicals. The technicals are saying that we're going to go to the downside, and 95% of the time, the chart will respect the technicals unless some kind of crazy fundamental story comes in and changes everything, like the United States banning Bitcoin. If that happened, Bitcoin, yeah, fall through the floor, maybe no bull market this year or something. But with all that said, I don't think that's going to happen. The technicals are pointing to a downtrend at the moment. They're pointing to one, not a very big one. I'm not saying that Bitcoin's going to go all the way to $4,000. Maybe it goes that low. I think it's probably going to go somewhere between $4,500 and $5,000. We'll discuss price targets after Bitcoin actually confirms a downtrend. We'll discuss it then. But at the same time, like I was saying, guys, you do want to keep in mind that just because the technicals are saying one thing, in a moment like this, in history in Bitcoin, when we basically all believe that a bull market is starting, sometimes the exuberance of the crowd can overwrite those technicals. So I do want to make sure that you guys understand that while the technicals are saying that Bitcoin should have a pullback, you want to also hedge your bets against that and say, and understand that sometimes the market isn't necessarily going to follow the technicals. Most of the time it will, but keep in mind that sometimes people will disregard technicals and just start buying a ton of Bitcoin. That can happen. So guys, that's pretty much what I think is going to happen. I think Bitcoin is going to come down here and test this uptrend of support in the next couple of days, or maybe trade sideways into it, and then there's a pretty good chance that we're going to break it. Maybe we don't break it immediately. Maybe we come down here and test it, bounce, test it, then break it. Something like that happens. That's very possible because I want to show you one more thing, then we're going to move on to one news story. As you guys can see here, Bitcoin has an uptrend on its RSI right here that it has been using as support for quite some time. And when/if, definitely when Bitcoin comes down here and does eventually break this uptrend of support, that is going to be another confirmation of a new downtrend on Bitcoin. And I think those two things are going to correspond. A break of this RSI uptrend and a break of this chart uptrend. I think both of those are going to happen in the same time, and I think it's going to be egged on by the RSI divergence that we've been seeing on 3 different intervals. Because Bitcoin eventually is going to break this uptrend of support. That is a fact. Eventually it's going to happen because RSI can only go up to 100, and this will go up far above 100. Eventually Bitcoin is going to break this, and it's going to bring bearishness that we haven't seen in quite some time because Bitcoin's been on a rally. So watch out for that when this happens, because it probably will happen if Bitcoin breaks this uptrend of support. That's going to egg on and exacerbate a downtrend on Bitcoin. Anyway, guys, that's basically what I wanted to discuss on the Bitcoin chart here today, but I do also want to move on to some news here relating to the company Ledger. You guys are probably familiar with Ledger. They make the Ledger Nano S, great piece of hardware, but in this story, we're going to be discussing how Samsung has invested $2.9 million in they call crypto startup Ledger. Ledger isn't really a startup anymore. They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but I guess you could call that a startup compared to where much of the cryptocurrency space is going to go. We're going to talk about the actual investment that Samsung made here, but the main reason I'm bringing up this article is because I want to talk about major company investment in the cryptocurrency market and institutional adoption of cryptocurrency. I talk about it a lot. It's a very important concept, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. South Korean technology giant Samsung has invested $2.9 million in crypto hardware startup Ledger. I'm not really sure about that phrasing startup. I mean, I guess they are only a couple of years old, but like I said, the investment gives the startup a valuation of roughly $290 million. I wish I had a startup that was worth $290 million, because if that's the startup valuation, I'd love to see where it goes in the future. And I think Ledger does have a very good, very bright future. Ledger is a good company. I like Ledger. I'm not sponsored by them. They do make a good product though. A spokesperson for Ledger confirmed that Samsung backed the startup but could not confirm further details. Yada, yada, yada. You guys can read this on your own. Samsung has gone ahead and backed Ledger. The main reason I'm bringing up this article is because of this down here. Ledger is currently working with various banks and other firms to offer a number of custody options. A custody venture with Japanese bank Nomura is expected to launch by 2020, while the hardware developer is simultaneously collaborating with Hong Kong licensed Legacy Trust to offer custody services for Ethereum-based tokens. This down here is the main thing I want to discuss for though. For its part, Samsung recently stormed into the crypto space and blockchain space. It recently announced that a forthcoming new line of flagship smartphones, the Galaxy S10, which I was actually looking at in stores yesterday because I'm looking to get a new phone, will include crypto wallet functionality, which may mean that I'm going to go ahead and get a Galaxy S10. And the company now said that the company is now said to be working on its own unique blockchain based on Ethereum. Guys, this is pretty huge. I'm literally holding a Samsung product in my hand right now, my phone, and many of you probably are too. And that's because Galaxy, because Samsung is a multi-billion-dollar company. They're probably a multi-$10 billion company. I'm not sure of the valuation of Samsung. It might be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Actually, Samsung is a gigantic company. They do everything. If you guys know anything about technology, you walk into a Best Buy, half of what they're selling in there is being sold, it's being sold by Best Buy, but they're selling Samsung products and some Apple products. But Samsung's a very big company, and so too are many of these other companies that have been diving into the cryptocurrency space here over the last couple of years. I remember when I got into the cryptocurrency space halfway through 2017, if you saw a news story like, oh yeah, Samsung just threw $3 million at a crypto startup, and then they're also working on a blockchain, they integrate a crypto functionality into their phones, I mean, Bitcoin would jump 50% in a day. That'd be ridiculous news. I haven't been in the market for very long. Many of you guys have been in the market twice as long as I have, even longer than that. But Bitcoin has come a long way in that time, especially during the bear market, guys. Remember, Bitcoin was in a ridiculous bull market in 2016 and 17. Bitcoin ran 100 times, and we didn't have the kind of news that we're seeing right now back then. There was good news, don't get me wrong, but this kind of stuff is just, oh yeah, that's everyday news. Samsung's getting into crypto. Oh yeah, whatever. That kind of news where you just write it off as, oh yeah, that happens every single day. We didn't have that back then. So think about what's going to happen during the next bull run when we're having all of these companies, all of these institutions. We're having NASDAQ step into cryptocurrency potentially. We're having the Intercontinental Exchange, which owns literally hundreds of billions of dollars worth of stock exchanges around the world, probably trillions of dollars, actually definitely trillions of dollars. The New York Stock Exchange is worth like $8 trillion. I don't remember. When you have these kind of institutions and these kind of companies stepping into the cryptocurrency market and backing Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, that's a good thing for the space. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for decentralization. Of course, I wouldn't be running the Crypto Jeb YouTube channel if I wasn't. I want Bitcoin to remain not anonymous. Bitcoin isn't anonymous. I want it to remain decentralized. I want it to remain in the hands of the people. But just because companies are stepping in and supporting crypto projects and raising awareness for Bitcoin does not mean that the actual core fundamental tenets of Bitcoin in the blockchain space are at all under threat. I think it's a very good thing that these companies are stepping in and providing support for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, because in 5 years at this rate, 5-10 years, everybody's going to know what Bitcoin is. That's why I tell people in my personal life, when I tell them, oh yeah, I run a YouTube channel and I work in cryptocurrency markets, they're like, Bitcoin, what's that? Maybe they'd heard of Bitcoin during the last bull market. And I say, you might not know what Bitcoin is now. Give it 5 years and you'll have wished you had bought some when I was telling you about it, because Bitcoin is going to be huge, and so too is the cryptocurrency market. And stuff like this is what's going to get us here. Major companies stepping into the space, backing Bitcoin, and helping to fuel mass adoption is what's going to send Bitcoin to $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and maybe $1 million in the future. I did a video almost a year ago showing you the math about how Bitcoin can actually go to $1 million and why it wouldn't actually be all that crazy for Bitcoin to do that in the distant future. So guys, Bitcoin is a very bright future, even though I think we're seeing a little bit of a downtrend here coming over the next couple of days. I'm ridiculously bullish on Bitcoin for the next couple of years, guys. I think as the halving comes up and on beyond that, up until probably about 2022, 2021, Bitcoin is going to be very bullish. I think we're going to see something like that coming on into the end of 2019 and on into 2020. Bitcoin will probably be back above $20,000 by the end of quarter one 2020. We'll see what happens though, guys. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of today's technical analysis, and also tell me what in the comment section down below what you think of this news and my take on companies and other institutions stepping into the cryptocurrency market. I want to see more of that, and I'm happy to say that we're seeing a lot of it, and we always seem to be doing so. It's really a great thing. I'm looking forward to seeing what Bitcoin is going to do during the next bull market. But before we wrap the video up, I do want to mention that there is currently a sale going on the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. If you use the coupon code EASTER2019 in the comment section down below, you'll get access to all 33 videos here in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. 10 hours of content nearly. We're getting very close to that. We're adding new videos all the time. In fact, 2 new ones will be going up over the next couple of days. We've already added 3 new videos during this sale. The one on RSI divergence, very powerful video. Honestly, this video alone, the lessons you learn in it, if you apply to your technical analysis and therefore your trading, will easily make you back the money that you invested in this course, along with the 32 other videos. We've also implemented videos on market sentiment and golden and death crosses, considering golden crosses are quite relevant at the moment, considering we just saw one. Market sentiment is another thing that we've discussed in today's video. Very, very important concept. We discussed both of those concepts at length in these two videos, along with the 30 other videos we have, guys. Bull and bear markets, mass psychology, market structure, gut feeling. Great video. I'm very proud of this video. Very important video for your trading. It's okay. It's great if you know everything about technical analysis and you know how to read every single chart pattern. But when it comes to the time when you have technical analysis contradicting itself, that's when you need a tiebreaker, and your gut is a great way to do that. That's what we discussed in that video. Gauging the strength of support and resistance and the bulls and the bears, important stuff. The convergence of support and resistance and the convergence of short and long-term trends, important stuff that many people don't talk about and gloss over, but is important to your technical analysis. We discuss a lot of stuff in this Technical Analysis Academy, guys. I go over just about everything I can think of about technical analysis. I throw it in this course and I package it in a very low price that you guys seem to be greatly enjoying. And by the way, guys, I do want to mention we've had nearly 100 people join the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy during the month of April. I'll give you the exact number. It's 73 so far, and I expect that to be over 80 by the end of this sale. You guys are doing great. You guys are really enjoying the course. You tell me so. It's amazing to see what you guys have done and been able to accomplish with what you've learned in the course. I have you guys email me all the time and tell me, Jeb, can I get your take on what the market's doing here? Or can I get your take on what the market is doing in this situation? What do you think will happen when these two technical indicators contradict each other? What do you think this chart will do? And it's amazing to see you guys go from being newer to technical analysis to being able to implement the strategies that I've taught you in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy into your own trading. Several of you guys have emailed me and talked to me about that kind of stuff and said, Jeb, what do you think? And that's really awesome. If any of you guys want to tell them in the comment section down below about the conversations we've had, feel free to do so. Anyway, guys, like I've said in many videos, I do want to mention there's a complete 100% money back refund guarantee. If you don't enjoy the course, shoot me an email. I will give you your money back. Just do it within the first 14 days of purchase. I figure within 14 days, you ought to know whether or not you want the course. And also, before you watch more than 30% of the course material, because I can't have you going through literally watching every single video and then trying to get your money back. That wouldn't be fair to me, but I think you will understand whether or not you want to use the course before you've watched 30%. So I think that's completely fair, and many of you guys do too as well, because like I've said, we've never had a single refund. We've had hundreds of people go through the course, never a single refund, despite all anyone has to do, email me, Jeb, I want my money back. That's all I got to do. We've never had one. I'm very proud of that. I will not be ashamed to say that I'm proud of that, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the course. That sale will be running on for the next couple of days, so if you guys want to learn how to do technical analysis, the best investment that you can make, as I always say, is an investment in yourself. Before you go and start investing thousands of dollars into Bitcoin, invest $120 into learning how to invest that money, and I promise you that if you implement the strategies, if you implement all the strategies in this course, you're going to make more money than you invested in the course. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of the concepts discussed in today's video. Where do you think Bitcoin is headed? And are you a member of the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy? Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always, as I just said, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.